When you see me out in the corner, don't when you loud and doing it loud, don't jump me, don't jump me, don't jump me, don't jump me. When you see me out in the fete, I'm doing it wet, I don't want to stress. When the vibration good and the music good, then we keep it good. So let we keep it good now. When the girls whining good and the grinding good, then we keep it good. So let we keep it good now. Don't you try to come destroy my peace. We're not taking piece of a sweet, sweet wine. And don't you try to come mess up my meds when they got in my head. No, 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 cause I put on my mood on set. When I put on my shoes on step. And I don't give a no who vex. When I handle me booze and zest. If it's road boat cruise off it, we have no time for snooze and rest. Cause it's fat, I come out to fat.
Nothing else sounds as good as
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All right, so we are back with you for another segment of our Activated Mornings program here on WEFM. In studio, you have Dianna, Cain, and myself, Roleza Samuel. And as I mentioned before, we are keeping it slightly carnival, or mostly carnival this morning, having different conversations with regards to certain things that happened over the carnival season. I just don't want to say the long weekend, but over the carnival season, all right? So we are doing Carnival in retrospect, and if there are any concerns, all right? So I have mine, but let's hear what Dianna's might be first.
I don't want to hear yours first.
Yeah, why?
I don't know, but let's see. One of the things that I have a concern about, and it's something that artists have talked about for years. This is an issue that we also have in theater, and it's with the technical team. We are happy. We're grateful for the technical team. We're grateful for the work that they do. But I think that more needs to be done as it relates to the people's performance. And from CDC as well. CDC, I know people are going to be commending you for the great things you're doing, and they're also going to say what more can be done, as we always do. Whenever we commend something great, we always talk about what more can be done. So I think that CDC needs to put some more emphasis into the actual people that are carrying the competitions, and that would include having the technical team, I don't know, show up for more rehearsals, set up rehearsals, or something like that, because it really isn't fair for your performance to be affected by something that is out of your control and something that you did not expect to happen. Right? In theater, we always have the issue of the persons doing light and sound not showing up to rehearsals. So we'll be rehearsing for a month or more, and they just, for some reason, some of them, they don't think it is as important to come to see what the performance is happening. For some reason, they just have in their head, oh, we'll know what to do. So they'll never show up to a rehearsal until like, should I just go?
Okay, up to you. If I don't want to finish it.
There's somebody's trying to call, so I'm going to take the call and then I will just go back.
Okay.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
You guys enjoy the carnival?
Yeah, man.
Please, go ahead.
Now I was going to say, how was Vincy Mass, Queens?
Huh?
How was Vincy Mass?
Oh, I can't. Oh, I watched a little bit of...
No, I was just trying to pick him up to see if you're here. No, I was trying to pick you. I was trying to pick him out to see if you were here. That's why.
If you're here, I'll make you know I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Let me see who this Queens is. Yes. Make yourself known.
I see Crystal CC3 at the juvenile. Look, she had a ball, man. Jumping with the people, hugging the people. one happy lady. Really happy. Like,
Yeah, that-
should I say happiest man alive? Like the happiest lady alive.
Yeah, that's Crystal in her element, in her, her full element. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Magical. I wanted Magical to win, but it seemed like Magical just tried too hard. Or maybe they probably take away points to him for talking a lot. Some artists, instead of singing your song, you're talking, If they were rhyming something, okay. Rhyming and so what, rhyme or something. But talking. Like low band, low, high band. He's calling. I remember listening to him the last time too. The previous year, he's telling the band, go low. He's calling the name of the guy who who is conducting the band. He's calling his name and says, go low, come on, go high, go low, or something. So I think he talks too much in his presentation. Just sing more. Road March. As I said in a previous program, Iowa, Jordan kept won the Road March in 2020. They've gone bad. So that's support there. And Little Natty and Thunder in Grenada. That's support that when the Monarch in Grenada. And come to the Road March. You say you had 4 songs played over and over. Back in the day, it was Beckett versus Touch. And Beckett wrote a song by a DJ, by some airplay, by a steel band, by a brass band. And he was showing words for the band Touch. And many people thought that Touch was by and they didn't match back. I know you can't comment on that. But well, people felt that way at that use. They were enemies, they were stark enemies back in the Beckett and Touch. That's why. Yeah. All right, I think that's it for now.
All right, okay. All right, thanks, Queens. All right, yeah.
So I was talking about the technical team. Right. So what I was saying is that sometimes, usually when we're having theatrical productions, the technical team will just show up like the week of the performance, and we have another call. So let me take the call and then we'll get back to that. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies. It's Anta. How are you guys doing? You survived the carnival? Roleza, you must learn to behave yourself,
What do? I didn't hear quiet. What happened? What do?
Girl, listen. I said if it's one call I'm making this morning, is if Queen's call. Queens, good morning. It's Anta. You set me up, man. Because here I had eyes, because I can't do it for myself, and ears all over town to see if anybody would see you. What happened? You're afraid of St. Vincent? You are one of them who said that if St. Vincent turn a bread, you throw it behind your back. You said sometime last week you were in St. Kitts. I mean, every week you're here, there. And I had people looking out. I said, well, even if he mask up to this guys and you can't see the face, once he opened his mouth and he said, hey, you would recognize the voice, because as people would say, him and I, we have distinguished voice. From the time I open my mouth, everybody know it's Hunter. So you set me up, man. I was waiting for somebody come this morning and say how they see you and how you party, only to find out now that you would say that you're not there. That is not fair to us, Queens. You can't call and criticize and this and that and you're not taking part, man. What's up, my brother? He's my friend, he in love with my name, not me.
Wow, in love with my name and not me. All right, interesting.
and that's it, because he always calling on they should do this. So you got to be in love with my name and not me. It's a good thing it's not me. Yeah. So Roleza, that's why I say learn to behave yourself, because you jumped the gun before me when you said that you were expected.
Okay. Yeah.
You understand? That's what I mean. You didn't do anything.
Okay.
All right. So Dianna, how was your carnival? You enjoy?
Yes, I did enjoy it. It was good.
But yeah, you had on your miniskirt?
No.
Just pull it your leg bandit. You feel? All right, guys, I'm listening. Have a blessed one. Joshua, we'll link later. Mr. Mason, good morning. Have a good one, guys. Take care.
All right, you too, Anita. Thanks.
Bye.
All right.
So the technical teams, just to try and make it quick, they need to be a part of the rehearsal. That includes the light technician, the sound technician. I would also include the band in that. it's not fair to the performers that you come up with a wonderful idea in your head and you put up this and whatever lighting cue you want, a song cue you want, and then on the night of the show, on the night of the event is when the technical team is seeing your thing, and some of them don't even know what to do. Sometimes you may have a lighting cue, you don't get it, a song cue, you don't get it. It's not fair because people are working on their performance and people are spending money to pull off a performance, and to them it feels as if you don't really care, and you ought to care, and more effort needs to be put into it because it is a competition. You understand? I also think that CDC and its stakeholders put some more emphasis into the actual performers. I think you're putting more emphasis into the international persons in the diaspora. You're putting more emphasis into, I don't know, letting some things look great, but what about the actual people that are carrying the show? Because we have a whole festival, but if the Vincentian people, the Vincentian creatives, all the singers, the Calypsonians and the soca artists don't take part in anything, then what do you have? What do you really have? It's not the persons coming in. Yes, I am glad that you're focusing on people coming in, but what the people here are the people that have the festival and that carry the festival. Because you can't promote a soca monarch without any soca artists and a calypso monarch without any calypso artists. So put some more emphasis into the calypsonians and the soca artists. Mass bands, I think persons could go out and help out the mass bands a little more, and persons that are in a position to offer some sponsorship, put some money into the mass tent and some labor and things like that. And I think that's all I would say for now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what you ended there is what it is that I have a serious concern with, right? So as I said, I looked at most of the activity through streams, and I am deeply troubled about the future of our traditional bands, right? In looking at the carnivals yesterday, the persons who, the bands that crossed the stage, it was paltry, right? There were some sections that had like 4 persons in it. And to me, this is a stark contrast in not only the mass bands of yesteryear in terms of the sizes of the mass bands or the sizes of sections, but it's also a stark comparison between the traditional bands and the non-traditional bands. Because those persons who looked at 2 bands in particular who crossed the stage, you saw the numbers that crossed the stage for those bands. And when it came to the sections for the traditional bands, now, how could you tell me that there are 4 persons taking part in a section, right? Something seriously needs to be looked into for that. I did have to, I was in a conversation with some friends yesterday, and I was asking the question if there are too many mass bands, too many separate mass bands, and maybe some of these bands need to merge. Now, what a friend told me, she's like, well, how can I expect them to merge when they split in the first place, right? Because there are some persons who came out of some certain camps and they formed their own band. And as a result, now you have these different bands happening and the representation is really poor, right? I am curious to know what is the pull factor for persons who are going to these non-traditional bands. Who it was? Somebody brought up the cost for a costume being $200-$300, and you know, $200-$300 isn't expensive. That is like the cheapest costumes that you are going to find. But yet we see a number of persons or a lot of persons taking part in the non-traditional bands. Now, mind you, I am not necessarily going to be one to pull down the non-traditional bands. They too have their place in Carnival. What we also see is that a lot of the visitors to our islands, the foreigners, they play in these mass bands, right? But what happened to ours? What happened to our traditional bands? There was one band yesterday that came on, and the theme for the band was a good one, right? And I am there looking at these sections. And the section's portrayal did not live up to the theme. And to me, it was quite easy to pull it off. But then on the flip side, I had to say, well, if they're only getting 4 persons in that section, what more can I really and truly expect by way of display, right? Because it was another bikini themed type of portrayal for all of the bands, and there weren't really a lot more going on with it. You know, a few feathers here and there, but it wasn't the grand type of costumes that were used in the past. It wasn't even thematic to me. It was just you put a name on the section and you just had persons playing in the band, right? I find that the mass bands also seem to be, they have to be in competition with the portrayals of the non-traditional bands, right? The whole bikini and feathers and beads and that sort of thing. Many of them seem to think that in order to get persons to come and play with them, that they have to put off costumes that are similar. That's the only way they're going to
eventually happen.
That is the only way that persons are going to be attracted to playing with them. And then to me, it takes away from what the creativity of our non-traditional bands are. Because one of the things, listen, I know my UE days was a while ago, but one of the things that I used to brag about with our carnival, especially with our mass, is that if you say the theme is buttercup, the costume is going to look like a buttercup, right? If you say that it's going to be a Vincy parrot, the costume is going to look like a Vincy parrot. But now I am not seeing that, and I can understand why, because it might just be cheaper to buy a bikini and put on, some glitter on it or whatever by way of decorating it. If the funds are not there, if persons are not signing up, if persons are not registering, if persons are not paying, if they don't have enough sponsorship, then the bands are not going to put off the type of costumes that we were used to in the past. And I am telling you, it is of a serious concern for me as somebody who is looking on. And I have been looking on at Carnival, well, in terms of the display of the bands for many years, since I was a child, looking on. So I can tell that there is this breakdown. To me, I have to ask, what is the question? What is the pull factor for many persons when it comes to playing in the non-traditional bands, right? Many of these bands, they offer different packages. They offer different things that persons can have expectations of, whether it's drinks, that whole all-inclusive thing. They can afford to do that. And because they can afford to do that, it's easier for some persons to say, well, let me just play with this particular band because everything is taken care of. I don't need to look for anything further. Yeah. I am fully taken care of, not only just me physically in terms of being protected, etc., but in terms of my other needs, right? I also do have to recognize, because I've noticed it with some of my friends, friends who I know played mass from ever since. They too are no longer playing with the traditional bands. And friends, if you hear me, I'm not faulting you. I ain't saying anything bad about it, right? But what it is that I also have to question is, as we achieve more, as we get into a better financial position, do our tastes also improve, right? Do our tastes modify to a point where, okay, so now that I can afford more than a $200 costume, I can now afford a costume that's over $2,000. Is it a case of, because I can now afford it, I am going to play with these particular bands that are offering these types of costumes, right? I know that many things within Carnival, it's like a status symbol for many persons. Yep. It is to show that you can afford. Mm-hmm. Maybe even if you can't afford in terms of, just paying from out of one salary, you could either afford to save up or you could afford to take the loan to be able to participate in these things, right? Mm-hmm. But I recognize that Carnival now, for many things, has become a sort of an image and a status symbol. Yep. And I can see that this being one aspect of it, it's affecting our traditional bands. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know how we're going to put our hand on this. I truly cannot fault persons for playing with who they want to play with, because it is your preference. If you can afford to, you can play with who it is that you want to play with, right? But I think that this is coming at the expense of the traditional bands. Is there something that they need to do to reformat to be able to pull persons? There's a band from North Leeward. They played yesterday. And I noticed some persons were commenting under the live about, well, what is this? Because you didn't really see an element of creativity in terms of the mass itself, right? In terms of what we would know presentations to be. But they brought a band, right? It was themed, yes, but not the glitzy kind of mass that we would be used to, but they brought a band. And I'm not sure if it's a case where just more sponsorship is needed. Maybe we need to have more input from the rural carnival aspect of it, in terms of having the communities come together, people sitting down and putting costumes together so that we have a proper representation. But something has to be done, because looking at it yesterday, my heart sank. It really and truly did sink. All right. So those are just two of our concerns with regards to the things that stand out most for us with regards to our carnival activity that has just passed. All right, so we are going to head on out of this segment. The time here in SVG, it is 9:03, and we are going to bring to you today's ECCB currency exchange rates.